MAGA Superintendent of Oklahoma, Ryan Walters, has a big new plan for the state of Oklahoma. He wants TPUSA chapters in every single school. Take a look.
I'm excited to announce today that every Oklahoma high school will have a Turning Point USA chapter. We have seen the outpouring from parents, teachers, and students that want to be engaged in a meaningful work going on at Turning Point.
So, to be clear, this is an official partnership between the political right wing organization of Turning Point USA with the government of Oklahoma to push right wing ideology. In that same tweet, it talks about radical leftist teachers' unions destroying classrooms in the state of Oklahoma. This is the explicit politicization of our schools in a way that we've never seen before.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine for a second if a Democratic official like Gavin Newsom or Joe Biden took to the airwaves to declare they were forming a partnership with Antifa or like the Sunrise Movement? Everyone on the right, MAGA, would be calling for a civil war immediately, right? And they would be justified in being outraged because that would be an incredible attack on the freedoms of children who are below these are kids. And so what you want to do is you want to unfairly institute your partisan beliefs on kids in a school which is funded by taxpayer money. That is definitely not the place to have a partisan political group that is explicitly founded to help Donald Trump and the Republican Party. You want to have that on your classrooms?
You are forcing Democrats to pay taxes in part to fund Republican campaign operations. That is illegal. Plain and simple, unquestionably illegal. And it is just another step that's being taken to merge the Republican Party with the state and rig the system against the Democrats. And this is coming from the same people that have said that the problem with their schools is that they push a specific ideology on kids. Well, it looks like their issue is not that public schools are pushing an ideology, because they're trying to push an ideology in those same schools way more intensely than anything that's ever happened in the past. And this is not the only thing that Ryan Walters has done in this respect. He's also appointed Libs of TikTok, that the creator of that account, which is an extremely partisan right-wing account, which spreads misinformation that I help debunk on a near daily basis. He's appointed that person to serve in an official capacity on one of the boards related to education in the state of Oklahoma. He's also pushed for the universal adoption of Bibles in classrooms in the state of Oklahoma, but not just any Bibles, specifically Trump Bibles.
So if you take a look at this article, this is from oklahoma.gov, specifically their education department, where they say Oklahoma becomes the first state to initiate Bibles Back in School campaign. And who else other than Ryan Walters, the man himself, the man from the same clip that was saying we're going to initiate a partnership with Turning Point USA, and he wants to basically put a Bible in every single classroom in Oklahoma. I can't say this more emphatically. That is completely anti-American. It is un-American in every single way. The foundation of this country by the original colonists and the original people who fought in the Revolutionary War was because they were being religiously persecuted. That's why they came to the United States in the first place, or what would have been the United States, was to get away from religious persecution. And what Ryan Walters wants to do now is have a mandatory Bible in every single classroom in the United States. It's so deeply un-American that you have to ask, what is their end goal here? Is it to remake the United States in their own vision, which is a Christian nationalist country where other religions don't have the same say? They don't have the same religious freedoms as other people in the country. And the other thing that we need to point out is that Ryan Walters, he supported another bill in the Oklahoma state legislature that would require the 10 Commandments to be shown in all Oklahoma classrooms. It's really just an egregious attack on religious freedom in the United States, a country that's built on protecting religious freedoms in every single place, right?
Right, and it's unquestionable that it's illegal, and that's why the Oklahoma Supreme Court actually struck down his move to force Bibles into every classroom and Bible-infused instructional materials. He was trying to recreate the curriculum to express a specific religious message. Now, the issue that me and Sam have here is not that the Bible is like something that nobody should be able to have access to. The Bible should be in the library, just like the Quran, just like other books. And Christianity is a fine thing. And if you believe in Christianity, that's wonderful. I was raised around Christianity. My father's a minister, so Christianity is totally fine. But it's an entirely different thing to force a specific religion on your students, use taxpayer resources to trying to coerce people into having that religion, give it a preference over others. And specifically, it always ends up being a specific denomination of Christianity that you're going to end up pushing. In his case, I believe Ryan Walters is an evangelical. So he wants evangelical teachings. Why not Catholic teachings, right? But one of the things that was great innovation of the American institutional system, the American constitutional order, is this idea that religion should be something that's kept out of politics. Whenever you marry politics and religion, the um, the stakes of politics become higher, because in order for you to practice your religion, in order for your worldview to kind of spread, you have to win in the political domain. You have to have power. And so in the past, we've seen some of the bloodiest wars in the history of the world have been over religious struggles because the state and religion were in bed with each other. If you look at the United Kingdom, this is one of the first countries that kind of came up with this idea of kind of removing religion from the state, making it less important. That's something that we got from their historical experience, because the bloodiest war in UK history, in terms of the number of deaths as a percentage of the population, was the English Civil War, which was a war between different branches of Christianity. If you believe in Christianity, if you believe in any particular religion, if you want to spread it, the last thing you should do is try to marry it with empire, marry it with the government. All that's going to do is produce conflict. It is produce abuse, where politicians appropriate religion not for God's ends, but their own ends. So really, nobody should be supportive of these illegal and ultimately and unchristian acts of trying to use the government as a tool to force a specific religion on everyone else.
Yeah, it's just really not a good sign whenever you start to see the government stipulate that certain religions be put inside of institutions that are being paid for by government funds, by taxpayer money. That is not a good sign. And whenever we see that, we need to immediately call it out, which is why we're doing that. Again, echoing the fact that we're not saying that you shouldn't be able to practice Christianity or Catholicism. Instead, quite the opposite. You're completely free to do that, just not inside of a school where other students might not be Christians, right? That's the point of this. And Ryan Walters would be justifiably outraged if somebody in Judaism tried to say that the Torah should be displayed inside inside of every classroom, right? He would be justifiably outraged, and so that's the point here. Micah, there's one other thing about Ryan Walters that we want to talk about here that might shed some light on the mental stability of this guy.
Well, so yeah, Ryan, his whole thing is being a Christian nationalist. And one of the big things that he's championed is getting rid of sexually explicit materials in our schools, fighting against, books that are too sexually explicit. Well, Ryan was actually caught about a month ago by two Republican board members of the State Board of Education with nude pictures and videos of women on his TV screen. What an incredible story.
So, board member Becky Carson, who is a Republican appointed member of the Board of Education, said in a statement, I was appointed to the State Board of Education to serve Oklahoma students to the best of my ability. The images that board members were exposed to yesterday in this meeting, and of course, she's talking about images that were shown by Ryan Walters, were inappropriate to say the least. There has to be accountability. And for more clarity here, Ryan Walters, who is, of course, the guy that we've been talking about, that's all about Christian values and bringing back Christianity to students. He was seen displaying two pictures of naked women on a screen behind him. Two members of the Board of Education clearly saw it. The sheriff recently has confirmed that the images were of naked women. I just find it extremely hypocritical that the guy who's talking about bringing back Christian evangelical values has essentially pornography behind him.
And of course, he says this is a wicked lie. Originally, his claim was that this is just totally made up. And as time has progressed, that's become less plausible, right? Because everyone in Oklahoma is a Republican. So you have like Republican sheriff, Republican district attorney, Republican board members. They all say like, hey, actually, this was a thing that happened, right? And so the statement that he kind of ended off with is, it wasn't my TV that was showing that, despite it being hit the TV in his office. So I guess the theory is someone else put the images there.
A
Guys,
Democrat.
like, some Democrat snuck into the state of Oklahoma to
Joe
put
Biden
nude
did it.
images on his TV screen. Like, guys, come on. Lying is a sin, okay? These people that are trying to force their particular religious values on you are the same people that in many ways are the least capable of actually living up to the values they say they hold so dearly. And it's because I don't really feel like these people are fundamentally consumed with their religion. I don't think that Ryan Walters wakes up every single day and thinks, what would Jesus do? How can I love people more? How can I be a better father? How can I be a better husband? I think he thinks about how he can advance his political career. And he's found that this is another useful tool for him to rile up the base, to show that he's a real Republican so he can
Yeah.
do well in those Republican primaries. He can advance his career, and actually putting forward the values that God tells us to have is not even near the top of his priorities.
Yep, it's a really dangerous road to travel down because, I think it's a very, very dangerous strain of religious extremism in this country, which we kind of almost exclusively see on the side of Republicans, which it's really not about them advancing a religious ideal. It's about them helping the Republican Party gain enough control over the country where they can unilaterally impose their religious values on Americans.
Right.
And
It's about
that's where
advancing
we
their power.
yeah,
It's about
that's where we
advancing.
really yeah, that's where we really get into some shaky ground here. So it's not just that we're saying you cannot practice a Christianity. That is quite the opposite of what we're saying. In no circumstance should anyone, let alone an elected official who's leading the education system in Oklahoma, in no circumstance should he be saying that one religion should be dictated over another. And we need to call that out wherever we see it. It is deeply, deeply, deeply un-American. Micah, any closing thoughts?
Politicians will never be the champions of religion, but they will use religion for their own ends. If you look at the history of Christianity, you see that whenever Christianity has been married with government and empire, that's when it's been most abused. Whenever religion and the government were combined, that's when we saw colonial regimes which enforced slavery, which pillaged South America, which did some of the most horrific crimes we've seen in the history of human civilization. And they did it with a cross around their neck. They did it in the name of God. And so, if your goals are to further the values that Jesus tells us to have, you don't want the government anywhere near religion because they will use it to do the exact opposite.
With that, thank you for watching this episode of America Matters. We'll be back with you next week.
Thanks, guys.